Israeli and Palestinian officials are scheduled to meet in Washington next week to hold direct talks for the first time since 2010, officials from both sides told the media today. Well, the talks are the result of months of diplomatic efforts by Secretary of State John Kerry, who has made resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict his top priority. Well, despite today's news, the sides remain divided on many issues. So what sort of impact can we realistically expect these talks to have? Joining me for tonight's Q&A is Jonathan Schanzer. He is the Vice President for Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome, Jonathan. Good to have you.
Thanks a lot.
So we've been to this movie before, many times before, and it always ends badly. What makes this time different?
Well, I don't know if there's anything that makes this time different. I think that the differences are very clear between the two sides. Neither side is particularly interested in getting back to the table. I would say that the Israelis have been gearing up to potentially get involved in intervention against the Iranian nuclear program. On the Palestinian side, they have been spending the last several years trying to pursue the Israelis for war crimes and to essentially pursue lawfare against the Israelis at the United Nations and other international fora. And so they were really not on a peace footing. And I wouldn't expect them to be right now, given the advisors that each man has placed around him. And so I think right now we're really not looking at a situation where peace appears likely. The only thing that I would sort of caution right now is that nobody predicted this at all. I think when John Kerry started out on this endeavor, nobody gave him really a second thought. He has somehow pulled this off. He's at least gotten both sides to agree to come to the table, which is remarkable in and of itself. And for that reason, I would say let's not count him out.
But Jonathan, when we say both sides, we're actually missing one of those sides, and that's Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and they are not being included in these talks. Can any peace deal be brokered if Hamas is not brought in on it?
Well, I mean, you ask exactly the right question, and yes, the Palestinians are absolutely a house divided. You've got two separate territories with two different governments. You've got West Bankistan on one side, Hamasistan on the other, and these two Palestinian territories are in a state of civil war. So no matter what happens, even if a deal is signed, as you suggest, it will only entail half of a Palestinian polity agreeing to come to the table.
So, Jonathan, in your foreign policy magazine piece, you argue that Washington can play a role in actually crippling Hamas, particularly financially. But I'm concerned, wouldn't that risk a backlash by Hamas in Gaza Strip and channeling that anger towards Israelis?
Well, I think there are a couple of risks involved with the strategy that I laid out, and let me just be clear. I think it wouldn't take very much to cripple Hamas financially, given what's going on in Egypt right now as they're shutting down these tunnels. The major fear that many have about this strategy would be that perhaps Hamas would go running back into the arms of Iran. You have to remember that they had a sort of a divorce last year over the civil war in Syria. The other potential fear would be that they would run into the arms of the PLO, that they would somehow unify, but that Hamas wouldn't accept what we call the quartet principles, these basically principles of nonviolence. Then the third sort of fear is that perhaps they would start lobbing rockets into Israeli territory. That's the one I'm probably least concerned about. The Israelis have proven that they're able to shoot down these rockets out of the sky with their Iron Dome system. But also you have to remember that Hamas right now, because of the fact that these tunnels are being shut down by the Egyptian military, they wouldn't be able to bring in new rockets. So whatever they would fire off into Israel, that would be the last rockets they'd fire, and the Israelis have proven time and again to be able to dominate the battle space in Gaza.
All right, Jonathan, thanks for sharing your insights. We appreciate it.
Pleasure.